Hello everybody! Today we're doing something different. We are having a look at different conspiracy theories using the Iceberg meme template. And yes, this idea is from TreytheExplainer, but to my knowledge he does not own every mention of an iceberg on the internet. Basically, this format means that at the start we talk about more common conspiracy theories which you likely already heard, and as we get further in, they just get less and less known and more bizarre. Layer 1. News Watchers. Obama. If you're old enough to watch this video, you remember the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama. And you probably also know a lot of the conspiracy theories surrounding him. The most prominent one is the theory that Obama was actually born in Kenya, not the United States. I must assume this stems from conservatives who are unable to believe that a non-white person can be an American citizen. When he released his birth certificate that shut up most, and when he showed the fact that his birth was announced in a local newspaper the day it happened, we shut up the rest. I am kidding, the conspiracy is alive and well, because conspiracy theories are only tangentially related to things that can be proven. There's also a conspiracy theory related to Obama, which was started by the 45th President of the United States himself, Donald Trump, who insisted that Obama used government resources to spy on the Trump Tower. There is literally no evidence for it happening, so only hardcore Trumpists believe in it. When Obama was new in 2009, there was a film made called The Obama Deception, made by a small unknown conspiracy theorist named Alex Jones. It alleges that actually Obama is not working for the government, but for a secret anonymous group of rich people who remain unnamed and who want to destroy America. They must be pretty bad at it though, since even after 8 years Obama did sadly not destroy America. He did serve groups of rich people though, on Wall Street, not some secret elite conspiracy nonsense. Epstein did not kill himself. This theory refers to the American convicted pedophile sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and his crimes. He was a close friend of Donald Trump and the Clintons, so a lot of powerful people may have wanted him to be silent forever. Epstein was found unresponsive in his cell, so they sent him to a hospital, which pronounced him dead. Following this, there was a prison internal investigation, an FBI investigation, and a private investigator hired by Epstein's brother, none of who could find anything suspicious. You may have heard that Epstein had a broken neck, which is impossible when hanging yourself the way he did, but this is a lie invented by the internet. Both the medical examiner and the forensic pathologist Epstein's brother hired concluded that it was likely self-induced strangulation. The only suspect thing is that because of a suicide attempt early in his jail stay, he was on suicide watch, which means that the guards should check on him every 30 minutes. And they didn't, and were charged with neglecting their duties. Since there's no evidence tying anyone else to the scene, and it was his second attempt, nobody else was investigated as being related to his death, which has caused more conspiracy theories. As you know, lack of evidence is only even more proof in the mind of the conspiracy theorists. Deep State. This conspiracy theory is unique to the United States, mostly. The story goes that there is not only one state, which we can see with a Congress and a president and ministers and governors and so on, which we can democratically influence, but that in addition there is a second secret deep state, made up of anonymous people that make important decisions without input from the surface government. Sometimes this deep state works with the government, and sometimes against it. Sometimes the deep state is conservative, and sometimes it hates Donald Trump. The only thing all these theories have in common is that there is some mysterious unnamed deep state which is to blame for everything. So the real reason politicians like Trump aren't doing what they promise is because an evil deep state is stopping them from doing it. This is a great way to blame someone else for the fact that your elected president doesn't do jack shit, preserving the cognitive dissonance. The anti-isms. There is a huge group of conspiracy theorists that try to blame anything bad on a certain group. For example, anti-Semitism is about how the Jews control everything secretly. Anti-Islamism means that they think Islam is inherently evil or something to that effect. Notable mention includes anti-Armenianism, which is about Armenians destroying Turkey, anti-Baathism, which thinks that Baathists work for the Americans, and anti-Catholicism, which states that all Catholics are secretly serving the Pope and want to destroy everyone else. Layer 2. Free thinker. Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, or Fed, is basically a publicly owned bank in the United States. What it does is it controls the money supply by literally printing money and more often by loaning money to banks. This way, banks don't collapse when everyone wants to withdraw at once, as it happened every 4 years before the Fed. The conspiracy theories are very diverse. There's this 30-minute LSD trip of anti-Semitism, movie references, bad history, libertarianism, and more anti-Semitism. It says that central banks are evil because government is evil, and it's the Jews who own the banks, and also appeal to authority to these guys who died 200 years ago. I made an entire video responding to just that fever dream of a video, so watch that afterwards, I guess. The theories say that the Fed is causing inflation by printing money, which it doesn't because it only prints enough to maintain the supply. People think they cause inflation by giving money to banks, which they don't because they loan the money. So they add $1 million to the economy by loaning to a bank, but at the same time they reduce the money in the economy by $1 million via debt. The money supply is not changed. And then people say that the Fed is bad because it loans with interest and the money goes to the Fed bankers, who of course must be Jewish, and so on. Unfortunately, it's a government agency that makes no profit because it's not designed to. 9/11 was an inside job. This theory is based on a 2001 classic known as the September 11th attacks, in which 2 hijacked planes crashed into the 2 World Trade Center towers. The attack caused structural damage to the towers and caused their collapse later in the day. The attack was perpetrated by Islamic terrorists angry about American troops on Holy Land. Or was it? The conspiracy theories allege that actually the destruction of the 2 huge buildings, millions in property damage, and the deaths of 3,000 Americans was done deliberately by the government to invade more countries. People who believe in this theory come forth with impeccable evidence, like that jet fuel cannot melt steel beams, which is true, but it can weaken them enough to cause structural failure. Some say it must have been an inside job because of the way the towers collapsed, which supposedly can only work with explosive charges. This is not true. This is a tower from the side. Steel beams held up the floors, but when a fire weakened them, this floor collapsed on the one below, which also collapsed, and then the entire top of the tower was falling down, pushing the rest of the material to the side as it is pulverized. This is why the recordings look like they look. The top floors are in free fall and crush the ones under them one by one. No explosives needed. Chemtrails. If you search YouTube, you can find hundreds upon hundreds of videos of planes flying in the air, as they do. And on a subtype of these videos, you will see people who see the contrails on some planes and not the ones on others. Contrails are a normal part of flying at high altitude. The engines are hot, the air is cold, so it forms condensation that, based on the conditions, can appear white and stay in place. The obvious conclusion is that these trails are not a very easy to explain physical phenomena, but instead the airplanes are dropping chemicals on us. What? Why? Well, presumably to
turn the friggin' frogs gay!
FDA. The American Food and Drug Administration is tasked with making sure food and drugs sold to the public are safe, won't kill anyone, and that meds actually work. But the weirdos on the weird part of the health and diet part of YouTube think the FDA is doing more than that. They say the FDA is deliberately not approving of natural healing methods like negative ions, essential oils, and other scams. I think these people are right. The FDA is deliberately not approving pseudoscientific bullshit. That conspiracy is real, provided you think that requiring medicine to actually work before being sold is a conspiracy. Layer 3. Alex Jones fan. Funded by George Soros. George Soros is a Hungarian-American millionaire who has progressive ideas. meaning he supports women's and minority rights, which is rare among rich people because all of them are conservatives. The fact that Soros is openly centre-left has made him the centre of about 1 trillion conspiracy theories. For example, when Soros publicly opposed Brexit, the English Conservative said that he was working on a secret plot to undermine the Brexit vote. When people protested against Donald Trump, he responded by saying that all the protesters were paid by Soros. When the fact-checking website Snopes was founded and truthfully declared most conservative ideas to be bad, the right decided that Soros secretly controlled it. When in 2018 migrants came to the US, they blamed Soros. In 2019, attorney Joseph DiGenova went on Fox News and just said that Soros controlled the FBI, the foreign ministry, and most of the deep state. So as you can tell, there's no shortage of people accusing Soros of many evil things. Some even say he funds Antifa and communists, like me. Which is a lie. The only ones paying me are my loyal patrons. You can be my personal George Soros and fund my very radical video making schedule. But how many of those things did Soros actually do? None. He's just a scapegoat of the rightists of the world. And yes, the world, not just the US. Among others, rightists in Turkey, Iceland, Azerbaijan, the US and the UK, and even more, blamed Soros for their bad track records and shitty backfiring policies. Crisis actors. Crisis actors are actors that specialize in acting as someone who was hurt or traumatized in training exercises for crisis situations. So if firefighters train for a train on fire, they will use crisis actors to pretend to be passengers. This trains the firefighters in how to engage with people who may have traumatic injuries or altered mental states, in case there's an actual accident. Naturally, this is not what conspiracy theorists mean. They take the existence of crisis actors and declare that actual tragedies were all faked, and that the victims and crying parents were these specialized actors. Alex Jones, for example, kept saying that the parents of the 27 victims at the Sandy Hook elementary shooting were all paid actors by the state, or the deep state, depending on when he's saying it, because the state or deep state was trying to justify to ban guns, which they never did. Unfortunately for Jones, when slandering individuals and not someone as busy as the president, you run risk of those people getting angry and suing you. And in court it was decisively declared that the Sandy Hook shooting happened and the parents aren't actors and that Jones needs to pay compensation for spending 10 years spreading lies about a major traumatic event. The amount is still being negotiated, but I hope it's a lot considering Jones's net worth. There are more accusations of crisis actors like the Boston Marathon bombing or literally every second school shooting. Cultural Marxism. There is already a way better video on cultural Marxism on LeftTube, so I will be brief. It's basically a theory that says that evil leftists and Marxists, which I guess includes me, want to destroy Western civilization using evil things like desegregation and equality. Basically, it's a conspiracy, usually made up by rightists to try to make their enemies look strange and unhinged. Notably, Jordan B. Peterson used cultural Marxism, or alternative postmodern neo-Marxism, to describe some monolithical other, which undermines the American dream, wants to destroy America, and wants you to use they-them pronouns. These cultural Marxists, who supposedly perpetrate all these things, are sadly always unnamed. Not once does someone name a cultural Marxist philosopher or author, almost as if this was an invented other, instead of an actual political ideology or movement. Cultural Marxists are also the ones who supposedly indoctrinate university students to be leftists. Now, when I was at university, all the professors were neoliberals, so I have my doubts about that. But surely that is why so many academics are leftists, right? Not because leftism is morally better than the right, that a higher education standard means that people are more likely to realize that. This is also where the whole war on Christmas idea comes from, which H. Bomber Guy also made a video on. Jesus Christ, mate, leave some topics for the small channels, please. Rothschild. First of all, it's a German name, so I'm saying Rothschild, not Rothschild. They are a family of bankers who used to own the largest private wealth in the world during the Napoleonic Wars. Conspiracy theories around them spread when it was found out that different local branches of the bank, run by different members of the Rothschild family, were funding multiple sides of the Napoleonic Wars. Afterwards, people started saying that the Rothschild family, and Jews in general, is doing everything to get rich, and they secretly control all banks, and they're loyal to no state. This was the start of modern anti-Semitism, which increased over the following decades. After the Holocaust, most people began to distance themselves from anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. But not everyone. So until today, there are people who blame the Rothschild family for, well, anything they don't like. Until today, conspiracy nuts say that the Rothschilds own everything from the banks to the entirety of social media. While the Rothschild family bank still exists, there is literally nothing indicating that they have more influence on the world than any other bank around their size. As you can probably tell, saying it was the Rothschilds is just a slightly more covert way of saying it was the Jews. Basically, the Rothschilds are accused of every anti-Semitic theory you can think of. They are the scapegoat of rightists who are smart enough not to throw around "it was the Jews" in public. Layer 4. Social outcast. The Great Replacement. If you're politically savvy and online a lot, you probably heard people talking about the Great Replacement, also known as white genocide. It is a right-wing belief that says that someone who can be some mythical New World government, the deep state, or Angela Merkel personally, want to take people from the Middle East or any place that has no white people and settle them in Europe to replace the original white people there. Now, of course, immigration doesn't replace anyone. White people would still be around, so that's a strange theory to start with. But I assume you'll have a way more important question right now. Why would anyone want to do this? Because they're evil. And I'm deliberately saying they, because for people who believe in this, it's always they, never anyone concrete. The evidence that this great replacement is happening is that countries took in refugees during the migrant crisis. So, following the International Convention for Refugee Rights means you want to kill all white people and replace them. The other piece of evidence is, however, so convincing that I cannot make a rebuttal. You see, the people who want to help refugees are just not racist enough. They want refugees to have human rights, which proves that they hate white people, including themselves, and they wish to make all of Europe settled by non-white people. This makes complete sense, and I see no issues with the logic at all. New World Order. This is a theory about the secret New World Order that tries to install a single authoritarian government for the whole world. Nobody knows who the members are, but there's some elites with 3 brackets around them. Sometimes it's the Illuminati, the Freemasons, and of course, the Jews. The evidence is that the $1 bill says New Order of the Ages since the 30s, which clearly can only mean that there has been a secret, but really badly disguised, 90-year-old plan to take over the world. The dollar bill also has this symbol, which clearly means that the Illuminati, which died out in the 1800s, are actually secretly controlling everything. Why else would that symbol be anywhere? It's not like it's just representing the Christian God and the Holy Trinity, right? Anything you don't like, from socialism to religious diversity, can be blamed on the secret, invisible bad people who want the secret bad thing. If only they had the foresight not to announce their plans on the $1 bill, they could have gotten away with it, but now brave people on the internet exposed them and learned that the secret government of the New World Government is hidden below Denver Airport. You see, the airport is really large. This can't be because it's a major travel hub between East and West. There is definitely an entire world government city hidden below it. True story, I heard. Tracking humans. RFID chips are used to return pets to their owners, but proponents of the RFID conspiracy theory believe that these chips are used to make us the pets. Dum dum dum. They think that the New World Government, or the deep state, or the normal government, or the Jews, or Bill Gates, want to chip people for some evil purpose, like identifying who you are, which is truly diabolical. There are even some who say that the COVID vaccine itself implants you with an RFID transmitter. The fact that these transmitters are like an inch long and could definitely be felt under skin is conveniently ignored. I bet Bill Gates single-handedly invented new microtechnology, and instead of selling it and getting way richer, he used it for nothing besides chipping humans with no obvious goal. Layer 5. Hopeless case. FEMA camps. A few of the biggest big brains on 4chan have exposed the real purpose of FEMA. You see, they say that FEMA, aka the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is supposed to help people during national disasters like flooding, hurricanes and tornadoes. For this, they deliver food and water and communications to disaster areas. And they would have you believe that to house the people made homeless by the emergency, they build up tent cities while the reconstruction is underway. But the rightist geniuses have learned the true purpose of disaster relief housing. It is a concentration camp for conservatives. This meme says it all. Liberal anarcho-Stalinists exposed. Similarly, Haarp, the high-frequency active auroral research program, is not what it seems. You see, they say that they study the ionosphere, but true freethinkers know what the real purpose is. They use the big radio antenna to influence the weather. They can make and unmake clouds. They can make it rain or make it dry. They can create or destroy fog. And even more impressively, they can create hurricanes, tornadoes, and even earthquakes around the whole world. This is all kept secret, of course, funded by the evil US government or the US deep state, whichever you prefer. Of course, you may wonder how Haarp can do all of these things. Hurricanes, earthquakes, and weather are complicated. Well, the answer is simple. Radio waves. Radio waves change the weather and move the trillions of tons of material that need to move to create an earthquake. Next is the animals. They are not what they seem. Most of them are actually highly specialized and trained spies for Israel. Remember the meme about the birds not being real but government drones? Well, birds are real, but they are government spies. You may wonder what this is based on, but have you realized that when you're outside, animals look at you? This could not possibly be because they evolved to see you and me as dangerous predators. Instead, they must be hired by Israel to spy on the whole world. Why Israel? Because of anti-Semitism, of course. All animals are working with the Jews to take over the world, and nobody can stop them. Except for you, who can stop them by donating to my Patreon, so I can develop my anti-spy animal shield called Wiki1999 YouTube videos. Yes, truly, if you turn on one of my videos, all spy animals in the region will consider you so based that they don't spy on you anymore. Subscribe to be safe from the figments of your imagination and donate so I can make more videos. This one was really different. Tell me what you thought about it in the comments, and if you want more, less serious videos like this one. I had a lot of fun making this, and I would like to thank Theon Hartley, Potato God 777, Alan Vo, Darius the Bird, Eric Betts, Harris Hawk, B, Xander Corvus, Attila Metz, Carissa, Comrade Falcon, Daniel Hyman, Dominic Roselli, DSM5 is better than ICD-10, Emily Margot Klassen, Evie Wren, Finn Gold, Herdina, Josh C, Klastrup, Liam S, Lilith Craft, Mamuka Ciliari, Marxism Tonight, Nana Epema, Poke, Rama Deville, Red Shock Trooper, Sean Murphy, Stairmaster Chef, Taylor CH, Trey, and the Worshipper of the Olympians.